Bitter Harvest might be one of the most interesting concepts I've seen for a farming sim in a while, and after spending some time with it, I honestly have some pretty mixed feelings, because instead of inheriting some cozy little farm and instantly becoming everybody's favorite new neighbor, you basically start at the very bottom. You arrive in this small village expecting to claim the farm you were promised, only to find out that somebody else already took it, and with no other work available, you end up surviving as the town's garbage collector. Honestly, that premises hooked me immediately because I played so many traditional farming sims at this point, and this felt like a genuinely refreshing twist on the usual formula that we see. A farming sim about resentment, gossip, social climbing, and quiet revenge sounds really interesting. And that's what kept pulling me through the first few hours of the game. Now, the game constantly hints at darker themes underneath its cozy surface, especially as you start uncovering secrets hidden beneath the town's polite little exterior. You're sometimes given choices about whether to rise honestly, manipulate people for your own benefit, or fall somewhere in between. That moral tension was easily the most interesting part of the game for me. For a while, Bitter Harvest feels like it's building towards something deeper, but the more that I played, the more I started realizing that the game's ideas are a lot stronger than the actual game itself. Now, most of your days end up feeling almost exactly the same. You wake up, collect trash, talk to villagers, water crops, fish a little bit, head to the mines for some resources, craft items for requests, sleep, and then repeat the entire process again the next day. And while farming games are obviously built around routines, I kept waiting for the mechanics to evolve in a bigger way, and they never really did. Even some of the smaller gameplay interactions started feeling unnecessarily tedious after a while. For example, planting crops became way more clunky than it needed to be. Instead of having a proper hotbar system where you can quickly swap between tools and seeds, I constantly had to open my inventory, manually assign seeds to the X button, and then press X individually for every single crop tile. You also can't just hold the button and plant while moving either, so farming started feeling really repetitive rather than just relaxing. And that was honestly my biggest issue with Bitter Harvest. It constantly feels like it's about to open up into something deeper, but mechanically it just stays simple the entire time. Even the mines felt really underwhelming. There's basically only one floor, pretty limited resources, so exploration was never really a big option here. And because the map itself is also pretty small, with only a few major areas to explore, I started feeling like I had already seen most of what the game had to offer pretty early on. The crafting and the progression systems are honestly pretty simple overall. Most of the time, I only really found myself crafting items because I needed them for a town request to make more money. And after a while, that made a lot of the crafting feel less like meaningful progression and more like just another task on the daily checklist, which is disappointing because the game actually has some really interesting ideas underneath everything. As you uncover secrets about the villagers, you're given choices about whether to stay quiet, side with them, or use that information for your own benefit. Those were the moments that the game felt the strongest, because Bitter Harvest constantly hints at this darker farming sim about resentment, power, and social climbing. The problem is, I never really felt like the gameplay systems became deep enough to fully support those themes or to make me want to keep playing to get deeper into those parts. And while those moments are definitely interesting conceptually, a lot of them ended up feeling more surface level than I expected. I was really hoping to see choices that would create more noticeable ripple effects around the town too, especially when I made the characters confess things or I just chose to manipulate the situations for my own good. But I never really felt those consequences expand much beyond the individual interactions themselves. Even some of the mini games felt strange compared to the rest of the game. The UI and presentation for them honestly felt a little bit disconnected from the overall tone of the game, almost like they belonged in a completely different project. Even the cooking systems felt a little underwhelming for me. Most of the time, I was just buying ingredients I needed instead of actually gathering them myself. So crafting meals never felt all that satisfying or just connected as a whole to the gameplay loop. Now, the atmosphere in this game is pretty decent. The world has that quiet small town farming sim feeling, and there are moments where the game's darker undertones actually come through really well. You can tell that the game wants to contrast that peaceful daily routines with its growing feeling of resentment and ambition underneath everything. And honestly, I think that that idea works here. But the soundtrack definitely started feeling really repetitive for me pretty quickly. After a while, hearing the same music over and over again started making the daily routine feel even more repetitive than it already was. To the game's credits though, the developers do seem to be listening to all the players' feedbacks, which is a really good sign. A lot of the updates leading up to the release focused on improving things like crafting clarity, controls, UI readability, story, stability, and just overall quality of life features. So I do think there's genuine effort being put into improving the game. And honestly, I think that's just what makes Bitter Harvest a little frustrating for me, because the core idea is genuinely really interesting, but overall it just ended up feeling a lot more underdeveloped than I expected. The mechanics stay very simple, the progression gets repetitive pretty quickly, and a lot of the systems never become as deep as I was hoping that they would. I kept waiting for the game to really surprise me mechanically or just emotionally, and it never fully got there. So is Bitter Harvest worth it? If you're looking for a farming sim with a darker premise and a slower, more story-focused progression, I do think there is something interesting here. The ideas behind the game genuinely stood out to me, especially the themes about the resentment, the gossip, and all the social climbing. But if you're someone who wants deeper mechanics, more meaningful progression, or gameplay systems that evolve more over time, this one's probably not going to hold your attention for very long. Personally, I was a bit disappointed in Bitter Harvest because I was expecting a little bit more from it. Hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not Bitter Harvest is a game for you or not. If it did, be sure to like and subscribe for more cozy gaming content, and let me know in the comments what you think about the game, because honestly I really love to hear your thoughts on it too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, so happy gaming.